Welcome back to another video where the question is, how much did this van build cost all up? First of all, how much did the van cost to buy? And then in addition to that, how much did the van cost to fit out with everything, including the bed, the cupboards, the fridge, the solar panels, the full electrical setup, the television on the wall? If you're interested to know the answer, stick around and I will try to give you a bit more of a detailed breakdown. In Australian dollars, I can tell you how much it cost me to buy this van, how much it cost me to fit it out, and how much it's costing me to live in it. So firstly, the price of the van might vary depending on what model you're buying, how old the vehicle is, how many kilometers it's done. But I can tell you for an exact number that this van is a 2005 Toyota Hiace Commuter. That is a super long wheelbase version. It's got a bit of a higher top than some of the other Toyota Hiaces. Mechanically it was sound, and these are the things that when you're buying a second-hand vehicle you really need to try and look at. So given the vehicle is a little bit older, given the vehicle is second-hand, taking those negatives into account, but then also factoring in that it only had 122,000 kilometers when I bought it, which for a 2005 vehicle is absolutely unheard of. It had like a decent value on it, but I thought I got it for a very reasonable price. So I know the moment you're waiting for. The van itself cost me $22,500 Australian dollars. So converting that into pounds, you're probably looking at roughly £10,000, maybe a little bit more. And with regards to how much did this vehicle cost to fit out, aside from the countless hours I spent taking things out and working on it myself, bearing in mind, you need to factor in that if you're paying somebody to do this job, it's going to cost a lot more with regards to labor. But if you're capable, or at least if you think you're capable of taking on the challenge of converting your own camper van, then you're going to save heaps of money with regards to the fit out. First of all, you're going to need somewhere to do it, which sounds simple enough, you can park it anywhere, but sometimes depending on the area you live in, you don't want prying eyes looking exactly at what you're doing with your camper van. That you don't want expensive things to be left out in your vehicle. You don't want the wrong people to see that and then potentially have issues with it. If you have a driveway or a garage or somewhere safe you can work on it, that's perfect. But the second thing you need to factor into the cost of working on your own vehicle is that you're probably going to need tools. In fact, you're going to need tools, and that's not just some hand tools, that's not just a hammer, some nails and a chisel. You're going to need power tools, you're going to need a circular saw, you're going to need a jigsaw, you're going to need maybe a sander, you're going to need heaps of power tools, and you're also going to need to know how to use them. But to let you know, for the fit out here, considering I did the work myself, the amount of hours I spent, I suppose that's priceless. But the actual currency cost in Australian dollars was about $9,500 to do everything in this van. That's to buy all of the timber, that's to buy the mattress, that's for the fridge, that's for the solar panels, that's for the lithium battery, the full electrical setup, the curtains, the TV, the fan. Everything you see in this van was included in the $9,500. Converting that into British pounds, you're looking at between about maybe £4,000 to £5,000 to fit your van out. That was for us, and that was, if you've seen the van build, I didn't skimp out on electrical costs. So the lithium battery is a 200 amp lithium battery. I've got 400 watts of Renogy solar panels on the roof. We've got roof racks. So there are some costs. We've got a big 75 litre fridge. There are some things which were very expensive for the build, but with regards to actually putting it all together, for example, the bed frame, these cupboards here, the ceiling, the walls, it was all done with the intent of saving as much money as possible. So I'm sure you could spend a lot more than that, but you could also maybe spend a little bit less. With everything that we've got in here, I don't think we could have got the cost down too much more than what we already did. So for the full price of the van conversion, including the cost of the vehicle and the cost of the entire fit out, we are looking at a total of roughly 32,000 Australian dollars, roughly 16,000 pounds, roughly something in American. But that's kind of potentially the ballpark you're looking at if you're wanting to convert a van yourself, and you're kind of wanting to make it a little bit more livable. Don't get me wrong, you can definitely do this for a lot cheaper, and you can definitely do it for a lot more of an expensive price as well, but I suppose that depends on your initial financial budget. I know when we started doing this van build that me and my partner had we had a number that we didn't want to go above. We didn't want to go above $10,000 with regards to the cost of the fit out. So it was a case of, as you've probably seen in the van build, the ceiling, the walls were done with Venetian blinds that were on clearance at Bunnings, and they were like $5 for a whole pack of blinds, as opposed to spending a lot more money on different fixtures for the walls. So we did our best effort to stay within our budget, and I think as long as you do that when you're doing a van build, you should be able to make it livable within your region, within your area of how much money you want to spend. I mean, you know, simply enough to hit the road, all you need is a set of wheels and somewhere to sleep. And that could be a simple case of chucking a blow-up mattress into the back of an old beaten up van. If you've seen my old camper van, which maybe I'll do a video on at some point in the future, I used to have a small Suzuki APV. The cost of the van was a quarter of the cost of this van. That van was probably a quarter of the cost, or a fifth of the cost of what this van cost. And the fit out itself was a lot more basic. You know, it was just some planks of wood, a piece of ply where you could put a bed on top, just had some storage underneath, and then I turned it into having a roof tent on top of the van because there wasn't enough space in the van to live in. But it's all dependent on your budget. But for this particular vehicle, for this particular build, we were looking at about 32,000 Australian dollars. So just looking at my phone here, I can tell you some of the more specific costs with regards to the figure of the fit out. The 200 amp lithium battery that we've got in the back powering this whole setup only cost me $699. That is very cheap with regards to like how much a 200 amp lithium battery would normally cost, but still, that's $700 give or take. The fridge and the cover I bought was almost $600. The two 200 watt Renogy solar panels up there were $475 in total. So you're already looking at, you know, $1,500, $2,000 just for your solar panels, your fridge and your lithium battery. In addition to that, if you're going to have solar panels, fixed solar panels on the roof, you probably need roof racks to store those on if you don't already have them. The roof racks cost, I think, close to $500 or $600 in total. That is for 4 roof racks, but it's still an expense that you need to put into the cost of your van build. The television was a couple $100. The Sirocco fan was another couple $100, I think. You know, although the timber itself, if you buy cheap timber, may not cost that much, you need to start, if you're thinking of doing your own van build, start thinking, okay, you know, how much power do I want in my van? What electrical devices do I want to be able to run? Do I need an inverter? Do I want a fridge? Do I want a roof fan? And when you start factoring all of these different costs, you may start to see that your budget starts to deteriorate a little bit. But this is unfortunately one of the costs of being able to live off-grid.